It's very human for people to want to possess, whether it's a piece of cloth, a stone, a follicle of hair, to possess an object that means something to them, an object that can perhaps help them in their life. Could these relics assist us in invoking otherworldly power? I think we need to be open. We need to be open to that possibility. Clearly, our ancestors thought so.
Okay, welcome back. And today I wanted to talk about the Shield of Ra. Now, this happens to be wielded by Aaron Snoofus, who also carries the Sunblade, a very powerful weapon that ranks as a 9. His shield have got ranked right at an 8. And the way it was created, it is etched with the symbols of the Medu Neche, which is the language of the universe. And it has the ability to absorb, redirect cosmic energy as it wills. It can nullify magic and physical assaults and create force field around its wearer. So a very powerful weapon to have. You can imagine this being an 8 and it being complemented with the Sunblade makes Aaron Snoofus an extremely deadly guy when you're going into combat with him. So if you like this video, you want to learn more about these type of weapons and some of the history that goes along with them, make sure you click that like and subscribe, and be sure to share with your family. But as always, thank you for stopping in.
What if you had a sword that could defy physics? In the heart of medieval France, the legendary sword Durandal gleamed with an otherworldly radiance. Forged by the skilled hands of Wayland the Smith and bestowed upon the valiant knight Roland by Emperor Charlemagne, it carried within its hilt sacred relics of saints and martyrs. As destiny unfurled on the treacherous battleground of Roncevaux Pass, Roland faced insurmountable odds. With valor unmatched, he swung Durandal against the enemy hordes, a beacon of light in the chaos. Yet, as the tides turned against him, Roland, realizing the imminent danger of Durandal falling into enemy hands, sought to shatter the unyielding blade. On the third strike against the unyielding rock of La Brèche de Roland, the sword created a lasting cleft, but Durandal remained unbroken. In the aftermath, as Roland's heroic spirit ascended, the Archangel Saint Michael reclaimed the sword, returning it to Charlemagne. Durandal, a symbol of unwavering valor, sacrifice, and the enduring struggle between light and darkness, etched its saga into chivalric legend. Let us know what you want to hear about next, and as always, like, share, and follow us for even more weird content.
Was the Die Glock, or the bell, a secret German technology from World War II? It's said to be a bell-shaped device with unknown, astonishing capabilities, possibly even time travel. According to lore, it vanished mysteriously at the war's end. Maybe it was hidden away by those in power, or perhaps it truly defied the laws of physics and slipped through time. Imagine if this enigmatic masterpiece were discovered today. What otherworldly secrets might it reveal? It ended up being found decades later.
That's a question. This is a relic. Some magic is too powerful to sustain, so we imbue objects with it, allowing them to take the strain we cannot. This is the staff of the living tribunal. There are many relics. The wand of Atum, the vaulting boots of Valtor.
They just roll off the tongue, don't they? When do I get my relic?
When you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
You're ready when the relic decides you're ready. For now, conjure a weapon.
Fight! Fight like your life depended on it!
Because one day, it may.
They are powerful, ancient relics. When used together, they can remake this timeline's reality. My genius was discerning that they could also shape the reality of other timelines. Once my Kamidogu are infused with them, I will have the power to remake all timelines as I see fit.
This is a relic. Some magic is too powerful to sustain. Hey, what happened?
The Egyptian artifacts make absolutely zero sense, and archaeologists might just be afraid of being wrong. How is it the further back in time we go, the more advanced they get? Egypt is old. Like, really old. Egypt is so old that even ancient Egyptians studied ancient Egyptian history thousands of years older than them. When the Romans discovered the pyramids, they were older to the Romans than the Romans are to us today. Woolly mammoths still roamed the earth when they were first built. And of course, everyone knows that Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone, or hell, closer to you watching this video right now than she did to the construction of the pyramids. What's strange is that as time went on, their artifacts somehow got less and less advanced. The Egyptian Empire reigned for about 3,000 years, divided into approximately 31 dynasties classified into the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. When we go back to the first 5 or so dynasties, the Old Kingdom, we see impressive feats of design engineering unlike any other. And impressive is an understatement. These are straight up machine perfect down to the micrometer. Like this round vase, perfectly balancing itself dead center on a point no larger than the tip of an egg. Except this isn't your pottery class vase made of clay. It's granite. And granite is harder than steel. That's a fact. Here are the numbers. Here's another vase, slightly chipped, revealing its walls are as thin as a playing card. Another bowl made from diorite, a stone as hard or even slightly harder than granite, whose walls are literally 1/40th of an inch or half a millimeter thick. We have no idea how to make granite pottery like this using known ancient methods, although high-tech machines could probably do the trick. But I don't think you realize how insane it is to suggest that this level of mechanical precision was achieved on granite using primitive tools softer than granite, the official claim. And these are just a few. There were over 40,000 of these artifacts found under the Step Pyramid of Djoser dating back to the 3rd or 4th dynasty, with some suggesting they're actually pre-dynastic, meaning they're even older, and the Old Kingdom Egyptians just inherited them from a previous civilization. Oh, we're in too deep now, Johnny boy. It's only in recent times when we finally analyzed them with modern light scanning technology that we found out how mind-bendingly precise they really are. They took a jar, did some measurements in a lab, and to this day, Egyptologists have no explanation for these results. The top of the vase was 3/1000ths of an inch away from being perfectly flat, something only possible with like CNC machines today. For reference, a sheet of paper is 7/1000ths of an inch thick. A human hair is 2 to 3. This thing was a literal hair away from being perfectly flat. The inside lip of the vase's mouth was 1/1000th of an inch away from being perfectly perpendicular to the top, which is a mathematically flawless right angle. And the entire vase was 13/1000ths of an inch, which is still just like 2 sheets of paper away from being perfectly circular. These are legit CNC machine level perfections, mass produced over 40,000 times on a material harder than steel using copper and stone tools by hand. Oh, and they might be pre-dynastic before copper tools were widely even used. I don't see an ounce of logic in that. Okay, maybe this one was just a fluke, right? A one-off perfect vase as a result of mass producing over 40,000 of them. So they took more into the lab and found even more astonishingly accurate measurements, revealing alleged machine-calculated mathematical use of pi, the golden ratio, and more, again to within thousands of an inch of accuracy. That's like that much. Everything from the flatness of the base, the roundness, and even the uniformity of the thickness of the walls was nothing less of CNC machine perfection. Justifying this by saying they were just really skilled or they had a lot of time does not explain this level of precision with the known tools and methods at their disposal. There are even some vases that are reportedly made from corundum, which is magnitudes harder than granite and sits right behind diamond on the hardness scale. Although this one is for some reason debated, a lot of people claim it isn't made from corundum, but still others insist it is. A single one of these pots would have likely taken weeks, if not months, given modern explanations. Shouldn't there be evidence of their highly precise techniques all over ancient Egypt? Oh, there was this. A hieroglyph outlining the sculpting of an alabaster vase, one of the softest materials ever, softer than marble, and totally possible with their tools. But it's been proven that the technique outlined here would not work with granite. Sure, cutting into huge slabs using rough and painstakingly slow techniques using those tools might be possible, as we've seen them desperately trying to prove, but the force of friction required to achieve that simply would not be possible on small, delicate artifacts like these, never mind how machine accurate they are. Some of these vases are as small as a thimble, not even practical, and even harder to make, almost like they were just showing off, like, look what we can do. One theory is that these vases were spun on some sort of grinding tool, for which they have no evidence, no recordings of, but that's completely blown out of the water with the lug handles on the sides here. it's pretty obvious that these wouldn't be possible from spin grinding. Absolutely no one can explain how these lug handles were made, which again, lab results showed that they too were perfectly symmetrical and level to each other to within thousandths of an inch. Later dynasties even tried recreating these jars, and although still impressive, are nowhere near the precision of the earlier ones. This level of advanced pottery is said to have reached its peak in the first 2 dynasties, and then poof, they just forgot how to do it, which leads people to believe these artifacts might be much older than anyone thinks. What if they inherited them from even earlier previous civilizations? And it doesn't end with these. There's also the schist disc, crafted from a single piece of stone. Tell me, what kind of stone can be shaped like this by hand? No one really knows what this is, said to be a bowl or a flower holder of some sort, even though it looks sorta mechanical. Recovered from a 1st dynasty tomb, and again thought to be even older than that. Then we get to the statues, and these somehow make even less sense. The face of Ramesses at Luxor. Several of these statues were made in honor of the pharaoh Ramesses. Engineer Christopher Dunn noticed that there was something off about these faces. They were perfect, but almost too perfect, and not in a human way. He took a photo of the statue head, made it 50% transparent, flipped it, and overlaid the left side on the right side. Doing this, he discovered the face was perfectly symmetrical. Centerline measurements confirmed this too. It's like half the head was carved, then copy-pasted to the other half. We see consistent eye-to-mouth profile ratios across all of these statue heads. Something that we'd likely do with like 3D modeling programs today, computer accurate precision. Same thing with the crowns on their heads, and this wasn't done just once but repeated among many statues. This isn't something that anyone could just eyeball, but experts insist they were all done by hand. Professional sculptor Mike Leckie even wrote in a letter saying that his modern diamond tools would have been well worn out before barely even starting to sculpt something like this out of granite, and states that it would have been borderline impossible to repeatedly achieve this level of accuracy time and time again using only the tools we have evidence of. What machining technologies did ancient Egyptians or even earlier civilizations before them possess that archaeologists just simply refuse to even consider?
Out-of-place artifacts. The Saqqara bird. It was found in a tomb in Saqqara, Egypt, and dates back to 200 BC. A carving of a bird shouldn't be a big deal, but some have suggested that the shape of the bird is much different than the other carvings found around it. The carving looks more like a modern-day aircraft than a bird. This would indicate, of course, that the Egyptians had much more advanced technology than we have ever imagined. King Pakhal's tomb. Kinich Jainab Pakhal was a Mauryan governor of the Palenque region between the years 615 and 685, a period of advancement and prosperity for its inhabitants. Many experts say that the tombstone on his grave portrays Pakhal sitting in what appears to be a spaceship, given that his hands and feet seem to be operating some sort of board and pedals. He also has his nose in what appears to be an oxygen mask. In addition to what would be the rear, fire can be seen, coming from the propeller of the ship. This and other evidence found around his tomb have fueled the legend that Pakhal had the means to visit outer space and even travel through time. The Acambaro figures. In 1944, thousands of little figurines resembling dinosaurs were dug up in Acambaro, Mexico. How could this be possible? As far as we know, people and dinosaurs didn't exist at the same time. Over 33,000 objects were allegedly recovered, each one more shocking than the other. Most mainstream paleontologists and geologists place dinosaurs on Earth's timeline at around 220 million and 65 million years ago, during the Mesozoic era. Homo sapiens, on the other hand, do not appear in the record until about 200,000 years ago. There are occasional claims of evidence that dinosaurs and humans were not so temporally distant from each other, and in fact coexisted at one time. The bizarre Acambaro figures are an example of this phenomenon. Could this be evidence that dinosaurs used to live among us?
The RMS Titanic Artifact exhibit has drawn millions of visitors, showcasing objects recovered from one of history's most tragic shipwrecks. But with these artifacts comes something unexpected: reports of eerie, unexplainable activity. Many believe the spirits of Titanic's passengers are tied to the items, forever haunted by their tragic end. Among the most chilling stories is that of a child's shoe, preserved from the wreck. Staff report hearing the sound of a child laughing or crying near the display, even when the museum is empty. Some visitors claim to feel a small hand tugging at their clothes, as if the child is searching for their family. Another famous artifact is a large piece of the Titanic's hull, known as the Big Piece. Visitors often feel sudden chills near it, and some report hearing faint knocking, like the desperate sounds of passengers trapped below deck. The exhibit also features personal items, like jewelry and letters. One necklace on display is said to cause uneasy feelings in anyone who stands too close. Visitors have even claimed to see a ghostly woman in period clothing staring longingly at it before disappearing. Staff working late at night report strange occurrences, lights flickering, shadowy figures passing by displays, and the sensation of being watched. One guard swore he heard faint music, like the band that famously played as the ship sank, drifting through the exhibit halls. The Titanic Artifact exhibit is more than just a collection of history. It's a portal to the past, where the restless spirits of the Titanic's passengers remind us of their untold stories. If you visit, be prepared. You may leave with more than just a sense of history.
Top 5 oldest artifacts ever found. Number 5. The oldest phallus-shaped item, named the Stilton phallus from 30,000 years ago. While being the oldest known item used for human, play, it was quite the multitasker, because it could also light fires. They don't make them like they used to. Number 4. The oldest sweatshop. Kidding, but in the Bombul's cave, there were many items showing humans' creations of our first complex compound. 100,000-year-old paint, or possibly adhesive, on stands, mixed in abalone shell bowls. Number 3. The oldest axe. An Acheulean axe from Kenya is dated to about 1.76 million years ago, and they were top-of-the-line technology until about 200,000 years ago, so they were pretty trusty. Number 2. We're at the part where banging rocks together is all the high-end technology. The 2.6 million year old Aldebaran stones are more than just banging rocks together though, because these monkeys knew science, setting up striking platforms, shaving down edges for better shapes when striking, and multi-strike technology. And number 1, the oldest stones ever found. The Lamekwi stones are a whopping 3.3 million years old. There weren't even any homos around. This tech involved smacking a rock at least 3 times to make a convenient shape for busting nuts and beating meat. Sounds like you would have been a pro with these tools.
By the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Oh, tiptoe from the garden, by the garden, on the willow tree. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
People say I'm crazy to open a case, but I have to do this all the time. Ed taught me how to do all this stuff. He taught me how to handle things, but I'm going to open this case up. First, the infamous Annabelle doll, which people do get freaked when they look at it. And matter of fact, I don't like looking at it very much either, but people are intrigued by it, so I show it as much as I can because I got a demand to show it. But that's her. And people say I'm crazy to open a case, but I have to do this all the time. Ed taught me how to do all this stuff. He taught me how to handle things, but I'm going to open this case up. And just so you can see without reflection, the Annabelle doll. This is her. And when you get down here, you see the sign, warning, positively do not open, which I guess you can call me crazy for opening it. Secure that in a minute. And over here is the White Lady of Union Cemetery, who was spotted as long ago as 90 years ago or more, and very recently also. No one knows her identity. This is a representation of her. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the evil, I call it the evil shadow doll. This is the kind of doll that can come to you in your dreams. Ed used to say it can come to you in your dreams and stop your heart. And I believe it. Look at it, it's ugly. Let's go close. It's like paper mache, and it's got nails coming out of it. It's got a human tooth coming out of the mouth, and it's got a human bone there. It's an ugly item. I'll go into detail more about that one in another video too. Here is the evil, I call evil 2, satanic idol, found in the woods in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, about 1991 or 2.
Today I brought a sifter to a long-forgotten World War II base to see what the soldiers may have lost. Right off the bat, I made my first amazing discovery, which ended up being a World War II soldier's identification tag. And then shortly after, I found a little marble which soldiers would have used in order to pass the long hours here at camp. And then I found myself a massive 50 caliber bullet casing used by the World War II soldiers, followed by this old Coca-Cola bottle which somehow managed to survive all these years. It's crazy to think the last person to ever drink from this served in World War II. About 10 minutes after that, I found another soldier's dog tag, and this soldier in particular was named Arnold, and he was from the state of Michigan. Then I found this tiny little jar, which would have held ink in order to sign important documents here around the base. Of course, it wouldn't be a World War II base without finding ammunition magazines and bullet casings. The entire ground of this base is completely littered with these. My very last find before going home was actually a soldier's uniform button, and if you look closely, you can even see an eagle.
It is known that just looking at a picture in general of this doll is enough to kill you.
Okay, yeah.
That's how intense it is. Named the Shadow Doll, it is an artifact, is made out of human
also,
teeth, bone, and nails.
Yeah, and also animal bones.
Animal as well. This thing was made to harm others, cursed, used in a ritual. This isn't like a demon was attached to it. Like, this thing was created to do evil. Basically, the curse is that if you look at this doll, this could be in person, but it's mainly common to be through the picture and sent with the curse on it as well. When you send that picture, that curse attached with it, you look at it, the doll will immediately go into your dreams, attach yourself to you, and cause a dream so intense that it'll just stop your heart. You're literally dying in your dreams through this doll.
Some pretty cool type shit, huh?
Yeah,
especially
doll.
just how they made the doll. Like, you know, obviously demonic rituals, and like bringing all this negative energy into the doll enough for it to kill you, bro, is insane.
It is, bro.
I don't know what you gotta do, what you gotta read, like what kind of, I don't know, I just don't know what you have to do in order for it to cause that type of harm.
Exactly.
At this Titanic museum in Las Vegas, I had a paranormal experience. So I'm jumping back on board to see if any other spirits would like to make a connection with me. I received my ticket with a real person who was aboard on the Titanic. At the end of the tour, it will tell me if they survived or not. Being a psychic medium, I feel so much energy walking through these halls. But honestly, you don't need to be a psychic to feel what I'm feeling. You feel so much sadness for what happened. And with their actual artifacts here, it brings so much more into play. I do feel there are many spirits that are still attached to these objects. Walking around this door, I instantly felt the spirit of a crew member who was on the Titanic. He was very protective over a lot of the pieces in this room. With that being said, I quickly left this area and went to another part of the museum. The last thing I want to do is disturb any spirits that are here, but give my assistance to any spirits who may need me. I'm now entering the first class cabin where I felt the most activity. I do believe with them recreating everything they did on the Titanic room-wise, it does bring a lot of spiritual activity, because for a lot of them, this is the last thing they remember. Another reason why I feel like it's super active is because of things like this. Personal items of those who passed, including wallets, and even money. I can't even tell you how much energy surrounded this area right here. Playing cards, money, coins. I felt two male spirits in particular protecting this area right here and guarding all their money is what they're saying. They say that all this money belongs to them. So I went on my way, and this is where they have the replica of the iceberg, where you can put your hand on it and it's the exact temperature of what it would have felt like that night. It was below freezing, close to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I tried to keep my hand on it as long as I could, but I can only last about 10 seconds before my whole arm went numb. I can't even imagine the pain they went through. Here are some of the items they found floating in the water after the sinking of the Titanic. Last time I was here, I took a picture of this, a big piece of the Titanic, and there were orbs all around it, like beautiful, colorful, bright orbs surrounding it. I will have to try to find that picture so I can show you. I do believe I made a connection with the spirit of William Henry Allen. A lot of his belongings are shown right here. Here is the wall that showed everyone who lived and survived. And sadly, as you can see, we lost more than we saved. This was the crew. This was third class. Second class. And first class. This is the ticket of the woman I received in the beginning, and she was a first class passenger. She refused to leave without her son Trevor, which happens to be my husband's name. Never forget the Titanic.
So you're not officially allowed to film in the lower floors of the museum, but here's a look at what it looks like in there. It's a replica of the ship, and it puts you in the mindset of all of those passengers. Some of the exhibits are interactive, and you can learn about the history of the Titanic, and you can immerse yourself in the disaster story. You can live it out for yourself. A lot of the inside of the Titanic, I have to say, reminds me of an old haunted house. So it's no wonder that ghosts are said to linger in these hallways, even though they're not original.
It's crazy to look at all these old pictures and think that this is what it looked like, you know, before everything happened. I'm not gonna lie, this place has kind of a haunted mansion vibe to it in here. I feel weird filming myself. There's so many people here. It's crazy to also think about all the just items that were recovered from essentially the bottom of the ocean that are here.
At this point, I was finally on the upper levels of the museum, and I started my investigation here in the bridge area. This is a replica of where the steering wheel was once housed, and as you'll remember, a lot of paranormal activity has occurred in this space.
Alright, if there's anybody here in the Titanic Museum, I want you to come out and speak with me while I'm in here. Let me know what you're thinking. Oh, look, right here, you can touch 28-degree water, how cold it was. Oh, jeez. Oh, that feels pretty good, honestly. Oh, never mind. Oh, that sucks. That is so cold. Holy shit. That's crazy to think about heading towards a gigantic iceberg like that. So far I got Get Out and Challenge.
It's interesting that the name Carl came up on my device, because after some searching online, I discovered that there were 2 passengers aboard the Titanic that had the name Carl. And while both survived, it's still interesting that their names came up. Maybe somebody knew them, or maybe they're still around. In all of these areas, there are photos and names of passengers who were on the Titanic. And I got a lot of different words, like unknown. Who knows who is haunting this area or what they're doing? Maybe they're attached to some of these original objects. I haven't got an age, 17. And it's not too hard to imagine that a 17-year-old spirit may still be hanging around in the area. Lots of names kept appearing on my device, like the name Ethel. So after recording this video, I once again went online and did some searching, and I discovered 2 more people who were aboard the Titanic who had the name Ethel. Once again, both of them survived, but it's still interesting, isn't it?
Getting a lot of names right here when I'm at a wall of faces, which is interesting. Can you tell me how you died if you are here with me? Also, it's weird, right when I was standing here it said 17. but there's 18 and I can't find 17. Maybe it's back. I'll go look. Let's see, can I miss the iceberg?
Turn the wheel left, port side, or turn the wheel right, starboard side, to steer the ship. You will have 37 seconds to avoid the iceberg. Good luck. Iceberg right ahead!
Take a look at this. In Egypt, they found this statue or symbol that's over 2,000 years old, and people are saying it's a cursed object from the Egyptians. What could it be?
Back over 5,300 years ago, when you were nothing but a speck in the atmosphere, no more significant than you are now, some guy got shot in the back with an arrow while traversing the Utstal Mountains in modern-day northern Italy. Since he failed to activate his protective prayers, he couldn't recover and got PK'd pretty hard. In non-gamer speak, he died. But this wouldn't be the end of his journey. Thanks to the very cold conditions of snow and ice on the mountain, the guy's remains froze and his body was preserved for thousands of years. The man was discovered in 1991 and given the name Utsi, after the mountain range in which he died. That's like naming someone who fell off of a cliff Cliffy, or Clifford, like the big red dog. God, imagine the shits he took. The mummified man is regarded as one of the most well-preserved bodies ever recovered, despite looking like old beef jerky. Problem was, Utsi apparently wasn't a fan of his newfound fame because many of those associated with his discovery ended up suffering pretty awful deaths, starting the rumor of the Iceman's curse. The first was Rainer Henn, the head of the forensics team who examined Utsi. He had picked up the frozen little fellow with his bare hands to place him in a bag for transport. As a prize for this good deed, Henn was awarded with getting absolutely wrecked in a car crash a year later in 1992 while on his way to give a lecture about Utsi. A little while later, Kurt Fritz, a mountaineer who assisted Henn, got hugged by an avalanche. A few months after that, journalist Rainer Hutzel, who filmed the removal of the corpse, died from a big old brain tumor. We then jump ahead to 2004, when Helmut Ziemann, one of the tourists who originally found Utsi, was discovered dead and frozen in the same exact spot. An hour after his funeral, the head of his mountain rescue team died of a heart attack. But not everyone was too keen on the idea of the Iceman's curse. For instance, archaeologist Konrad Spindler, who examined Utsi's remains, said that the whole curse idea was silly, saying, quote, "This is all a media hype. The next thing you'll be saying is that I will be next." He died shortly after. Multiple sclerosis. You know how it is. The final death associated with the Iceman to date was Dr. Tom Loy, who performed a DNA analysis on Utsi. When he was just about to finish a book on the cold cadaver's history, he was found dead in his home, despite being in relatively fair health. Now, of course, it has to be said that there have been plenty of others who have studied, photographed, poked, and even caressed Utsi's leathery sunken skin who are still alive and well today. But if you want to take the chance with the curse yourself, you can visit Utsi in the South Tyrol Archaeological Museum in Bolzano, Italy. Just remember to not play footsies with Utsi's tootsies.
These books look like they've been set up for urban exploring, but what's in here? Or is that the lid for that? Yeah. It's not an abandoned house without a Singer sewing machine, is it?
No. We get them in so many.
Trouble that up.
A vast collection of peculiar artifacts that seem to defy conventional historical understanding. The cave's walls were adorned with intricate carvings and inscriptions, while the floor was strewn with coins, tablets, and sculptures, a treasure trove of ancient relics that seemed entirely out of place in the American Midwest. The Burroughs Cave artifacts encompass a diverse array of objects, many of which display a striking resemblance to the artistic styles and iconography of ancient Mediterranean civilizations. Among the most notable finds are gold and bronze coins inscribed with the portraits of historical figures such as Alexander the Great and Cleopatra, as well as tablets featuring hieroglyphics, Greek lettering, and even Latin inscriptions. Intriguingly, some of these artifacts appear to depict scenes from biblical and classical mythology, while others contain maps and navigational charts that could potentially shed light on ancient maritime exploration. Egyptian, Etruscan, Greek, Scandinavian, Roman, Vedic, and Hebrew etchings and artifacts were all discovered. 5 8-foot-tall anthropomorphic statues stand in the main tunnel passageway. There are carvings which resemble the Egyptian god Anubis. Some are accompanied with hieroglyphics embossed on a gold plate. There are also Mesoamerican-style artifacts that resemble that of the Olmec civilization. Most astonishing is that deep in the caves can be found crypts, where the apparent bodies who left the cache of artifacts are buried.
We know the truth now.